How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TableTakes. It's the best 4 days in gaming all year round. Oh man, we're so excited. We have so much cool stuff to talk about. Maybe something you've heard of already. We have planned so many really cool headlines. It has been a pretty exciting week. But as we always do, we're gonna just check in with our hosts and see what everybody's been up to. Who should we start with? Oh, I don't know. How about you, Marcus?
My name is Marcus. Am I muted? I was muted. Yeah, no, I'm not muted. Hi, my name is Marcus. I have had a very fun week. Not looking at my phone, not looking at what's happening on the internet, not looking at anything about new D&D news or anything like that. I was hanging out with my little brother, celebrating his 22nd birthday, going to an all elite wrestling show, and having the time of our lives, just having a fun old time with brothers. So that's been my week. I'm very lucky to have a really cool kid who is my little brother. So I'm feeling pretty good and warm and fuzzy about that.
How did you celebrate New Year's?
Oh, I played. I stayed inside and played God of War all night.
Fun.
Boy. Yeah.
Fun.
Boy.
That sounds very similar to what I did.
What did you do?
Well, actually, okay. So the thing is, my friend was gonna take me to Portland, and we were gonna go to a big old party at a club. However, my grandma died a few weeks ago, and my mom decided to have the funeral that day, which I missed because it was Eastern time. So I just completely did not see any of it at all. They didn't record it, so they told me that it was really beautiful. So
Oh, well,
that's nice.
That's something.
Yeah. So my buddy was like, you know what? I'm gonna give you a little space. I'm gonna go back to Canada, and we'll go to Portland some other time. That was fun. Oh, also, I got told to my face. I got spat on by the elitist known as Bonsai Baby, who thinks that apparently all rich people are better than poor people, is what she told me. Anyway, that's what she said in her own words. Anyway,
I do
because
have some
apparently
questions.
my computer isn't expensive enough to play in her Minecraft server anymore, so I don't get to play Minecraft with her and her friends, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
I didn't realize we were having like a
Single
Frost
player.
Nixon
We
gotcha.
were
joke.
having
Like
a
a homeless
fight.
person.
Okay, yeah, I even paid more space in my server so you could join, okay? You know how much it is to get a 10 gig server so it could allocate your RAM into my area. It's not my fault, okay? I wanted better things, all right? The newer Minecraft mod. It's only 2 more mods than the last one, okay? So to be fair, it is like
You know what you did,
219
Rhonda.
mods that I run on my Minecraft server. 219 mods.
So Noir, how have you been?
I not nearly as confrontational as these two. No, I've just been doing my thing, sitting at home, crying, watching every movie based on a Alexander Dumas book. It's been great.
It just
Got
seems
the-
like
Lot
the
of feelings.
holidays this year have just been a huge downer. Did you do anything fun this week?
I cried so hard that my tears pulled up on my shirt and made a hole in it, and it was my favorite shirt.
So,
It's this one.
oh no.
So, have we confirmed that you have acid in your veins?
No, it was just a lot of crying.
So
I
everyone,
didn't know you could do that.
right
Yeah,
now
well,
is
Bonsai, what
clearly
about
a
you?
difficult time for all of us. We're all
Yeah.
having struggles. So if you're having any difficulty out there, just know we like you. Have a just we like you. It
No,
sucks. Stuff sucks. It's okay.
It is.
We'll get through
Bonsai.
it.
Sometimes just being able
Bring
to get
some
up is good.
sunshine back to the stream.
No pressure. No pressure.
I guess my only update is the only thing I've been focusing on is I'm super pregnant now. You can't see it, but I am. And I have discovered now that when I eat too much, I pop like a turkey. So if
Oh,
anybody
geez.
wants to know, it's like that little button, my belly button now pops out. I have to push it back in. So if anybody wanted to know, there, that brings a smile on everybody's
Yes,
face. I am now
thank you, Bud.
That works.
I'm now a turkey. I pop like a turkey.
Oh man, we're gonna miss you when you're taking care of baby.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to try to find somebody. I mean, nobody could replace you, but hopefully we'll
Uh,
have.
I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought we were going to have to get a 5th square for baby bonsai.
Oh yeah, Bonsai Junior is definitely going to need to take up a space.
Yeah, so
There you go.
it's going to be
Yay!
bonsai baby, baby bonsai.
Bonsai baby, baby bonsai.
Oh wow, that's so funny. I didn't even think about that. Well, folks, that is going to lead us into our very first headline for today. Oh my gosh, this one's a really fun one. I'm gonna lead you into it with a question. My question for you folks is: have you ever played Catan? And when you're trying to place down the roads, you keep readjusting them because they're just slightly off. Or maybe you place down a house, but you're not sure exactly which of the hexes it's placed on. It requires a lot of precision, doesn't it? Well, what if I told you there's a robot who could trounce you in every single one of your attempts to play Catan? You probably knew that there are software programs online and browser-based AI that can play Catan. Well, a very clever designer, an engineer named Johnny Ramsdell, has actually created a fully functioning robot arm that plays Catan. This is an article from Alex Meehan of Dicebreaker, who shouted out Johnny Ramsdell, whose Twitter is at John Ramsdell 18. You can check out you can see the video of it. It's really, really cool. I just wanted to give him a quick shout out. So the robot arm is actually controlled by a gearbox that lifts and lowers the gripper that's attached to it. And the concept was actually designed or tested on a 3D program called SolidWorks and then 3D printed. And now it's got a software program that Ramsdell uses that actually lets it interact with all the pieces on the board with enough precision that you can actually update the board in real time. There's a camera that points down at it, so the robot always knows exactly what's going on at any given time, but you have to be very specific about the order of operations with it. But it looks really cool. A while ago, we actually covered an article about an AI program that was able to play diplomacy. So it goes to show you. Yeah. So it just goes to show you 2023 is going to be the year that everything changed when it comes to what it means to be a gamer, what it means to be a person, humanhood. AI has just found its way into so many different avenues, and board games, I mean, it was bound to come into board games sooner or later. So now here we are with a robot, not just the AI, but also the robot arm that can play Catan. This is really great if you were looking for a third player to play Catan with you. Maybe you don't like Catan Rivals, which is the 2-player version of it. Now you can have somebody, and hopefully Johnny Ramsdell, I mean, this is a pretty sophisticated system. I'm sure you can adjust the difficulty level so that they end up putting all of their houses on the edge of the board at the very beginning of the game next to 11s and 12s. Sure, why not? I also love that in the article, it explains that Catan was released in 1995 and it's got 3 to 4 players, but it's also a rules complexity that's low and a strategic depth that's low, which has so much baggage behind it, because I'm sure you've had these arguments with your friends before. I've had them plenty of times. I don't know if Catan's really that simple or that easy to play. Thankfully, we've got AI that will hopefully be able to show us how it's really done. Have you guys I know you guys have actually played Catan before. You have to have, right?
Yes.
I have not, and my toxic trait is that I thoroughly believe I could beat that robot.
Oh really? Oh really?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm sure there's all kinds of trickery you could come up with to find its weakness or something, or it's like blind
I would just throw some water at it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wow.
I'm thinking when I play Catan, I like to play wet. I like to make sure everyone around me is getting splashed with water. I'm talking like really messy. So if I'm playing Catan with that robot, I hope it's Scotch guarded. I hope it's got some nice lubricant on the outside that just slides right off like a duck.
But you know what, Marcus? There's an expansion just for you. It's actually the Seafaring expansion of Catan. So maybe Johnny will update the software so it can play expansions too.
Okay.
For you.
Johnny, get back to me when you get that together.
No,
can I just say? Oh,
Go
God,
ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that I was honestly attempted to get they have a big pack of Catan that has all the expansions, and it makes the game go over 6 hours if you buy it.
Wow, over 6 hours.
Yes, it's 6 hours of
That's
Catan.
too much.
Are you
That's too
combining
much.
all the expansions?
All
into
the
one mega
expansion
legacy
into
game?
one mega box. I saw it at the store and I was like, no.
Honestly, my games of Catan sometimes will go up to 6 hours with no expansions, especially if I have to teach it. So maybe they should make a robot for that. Make a robot to teach board games, so you don't have to
Sorry.
have
Yeah,
iPads
Noir,
to
what were you
distribute
gonna
it.
say? I'm so sorry.
I was just gonna say my favorite part of your reporting this, Javion, is like how this is the line that's too far for AI.
Absolutely.
Like this is where we start to have questions about personhood. When
Yeah.
the AIs can start beating us in Catan, we need to rethink what we're doing with this AI.
Now it's unconfirmed whether or not the robot has the ability to trade with players or refuse to take any wheat for sheep. But maybe that's an update coming in the future.
It's a neural net processor, a learning computer, and it's here for your Catan. It's going to be great. I'm certain that this is going to be nothing but good things, Javion. Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
No problem. And speaking of nothing but good things, Noir, would you tell us a little bit about a re-release? What?
Yeah. This story brought to us by Jeffrey Dom Sanchez over at ICV2. Thank you so much. D&D Tyranny of Dragons will be re-released in what could be the award for the most ill-timed, ill-named product re-release of all time. So, Wizards of the Coast will re-release Dungeons & Dragons Tyranny of Dragons, a classic 5e adventure campaign collected into one volume into retail January 17th, 2023. Tiamat, the Queen of Evil Dragons, takes center stage for a fourth time as the D&D Tyranny of Dragons is headed into stores. This was one of the first 5e adventures originally released as the Tyranny of Dragons series of adventures back in 2014. It was later published into 2 volumes as Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat in 2019. It came back again as the 2 volumes collected into one Tyranny of Dragons adventuring campaign books. The latest edition of this book refines the previous volumes into a new edition that sends level 1 player characters off to stop a dragon worshipping cult from bringing Tiamat into the world. This sweeping campaign progresses the characters all the way up to level 15, providing dozens of hours worth of gameplay. This book features a new cover as well as a gallery of concept art that provide a behind-the-scenes look at the making of this campaign. And this is going to retail for $49.95. So if you have any attachments to that adventure, especially with this being one of the first 5e adventures published, this is a great time to jump right back into that story or to tell it with a new group of characters. Really exciting stuff, especially for fans of that particular module. The jokes write themselves. So
Tyranny of Dragons.
Poorly timed, poorly named.
One of my first experiences with D&D 5th edition was actually running one of the Tyranny of Dragons adventures, the Horde Queen. And I remember having dragons be at like the forefront of the D&D opera or whatever, got people excited to actually join in. And seeing that the Tyranny of Dragons was added all of those adventures together, so you're certainly going to get dragons in your campaign is pretty cool. And I'm curious, do you have any experience, Noir, with any of the modules that come in Tyranny of Dragons?
So I'm a little homeschool. I'm a little old school in the homeschool. I'm a little old school in the sense that I don't really enjoy modules that much. So I haven't played too terribly many. I've played Lost Mines. I've played Strahd, but I haven't had the chance to play Tyranny of Dragons. I hear really good things, and Tiamat is a thoroughly compelling character. So I'm a fan of the character. And I'm a fan. More importantly, I am a huge fan of the art of Dungeons and Dragons. So what compels me to consider picking this up more than anything is getting a chance to take a look at the concept art.
Yeah, definitely. I think I have that same thing where I jumped back and forth between modules and homebrew stuff for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to admit, knowing that you're going to get dragons in your game is a great way to get players like excited about.
Oh,
playing
absolutely,
them.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's since this came out at around the time of 5th edition being very new, I think this would have happened at around the same time as Critical Role was doing the Conclave series, which also featured a bunch of dragons. So I know that with 5th edition being new at the time, and people watching Critical Role, they wanted to have an adventure kind of similar to what they were watching on that show. So this was a great alternative for them to do that as well.
I'm wondering if it was just a low printing amount of the actual copies of the original edition of Tyranny of Dragons that prompted this re-release, or if they just decided that they wanted some new art.
I do think that the timing is interesting because we are coming on the heels of D&D 1. So I mean, one D&D. So I think it's very, it's odd timing because there are going to be rule changes from 5th edition to 1 D&D proper. So getting this now, it seems a little strange, but we'll see. I can see this. I can see another version of this coming out in the not too far off future as well.
Well, speaking of some, I would say not older, but rather vintage D&D. D&D video games have been a staple for a very long time. And I know myself, I have not been experienced a lot of them, but Marcus, what news have you to bring for us for the video games that were planned for WotC?
Well, much like all of Wizards of the Coast news, everything's very good and very normal. So I would like to talk about the news that Wizards of the Coast has canceled 5 D&D video games. This comes from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, as well as Alex Meehan of Dicebreaker. On Tuesday of this week, Wizards of the Coast announced that it was canceling 5 video games that were being worked on for the D&D brand. This includes one from Otherwise Entertainment, Hidden Path Entertainment, and one external project named Jabberwocky, as well as 2 other games that were very early in development. There's not a real reason at this moment why these games were canceled, but a lot of the speculation was probably that it was probably due to the poor reception of Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance, which was, I believe, a 53 on Metacritic for PC. Kind of rough. So this is nothing new. Video games get canceled left and right all the time. But one of the things that was noticed in the comments about this was that even though the games were not necessarily fully in development or even announced, they still haven't announced which ones are actually being cut. The publisher is releasing a statement that is confirming that they are still committed to using digital games, but will focus on games which are strategically aligned with developing existing brands to those to show which promise in expanding or engaging audiences. Another quote that I'd like to point out from what Wizards of the Coast said earlier was that the D&D brand is being, one second, really under-monetized. So that's a quote from the people, the CEO and the presidents of Wizards of the Coast. So I propose something. If D&D is being under monetized, my proposition is microtransactions. Get in there with those microtransactions. If you want video games, Wizards of the Coast, this is right up your alley. Microtransactions, in case you're not familiar, it's a business model where users can purchase virtual items for a small amount of real money. That's how you get your audience. That's how you suck your audience dry financially. Microtransactions, if you're looking to get money, you're looking to make some money D&D, I'm saying microtransactions all the way. That is the ethical thing to do.
We might be kidding.
We actually...
No, microtransactions are not good.
They kind of do it. Like, remember when they released the stuff about 1D1 that I was talking about microtransactions?
Yep. Bonsai, you called it. I know.
Yep. Bonsai called it over a year ago.
Yeah, when they introduced 1D1.
This is pretty much of a bummer for people who have been working on this game. They have claimed that there are fewer than 15 people who will lose their job at Wizards, but don't worry, they'll have a chance to apply for new roles in the company.
I'm reading through Twitch chat, and a lot of people are also a little cautious about whether or not this is spelling bad news for the future of D&D video games. I really wish I had played more of like Baldur's Gate games, or just the other video games that were D&D related in the past. But I mean, I guess I was kind of wrong about the newest edition, which I don't even know if it still is in early access on Steam. Uh, but I thought people really liked the newest Baldur's Gate edition. So
I can
Yeah.
tell you, as somebody that is playing that game profusely, that Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing. Like it is truly a great game. I would love to play with all of you guys one day, but
that sounds great. Oh, that sounds actually so fun.
I want to say genuinely when it comes to D&D games, video games, I am more of on the video game side of things. I deeply love video games and finding elements of video games in I was actually kind of looking forward to some D&D video games. Genuinely, as someone who is not a D&D fan, I was looking forward to D&D video games to see if that got me in more. And it's a different. I know there's like a weird feud sometimes between tabletop and video games, which is a real RPG, which is a JRPG or just a regular video game RPG. But it's like there's a beautiful mix of what you can do in one medium that you can't do in another, and I think showing the best of D&D in a video game is something that would benefit the company as a whole, would benefit the game as a whole. But that does mean you do have to put direct focus into producing and developing a video game, developing a property that you can then make something that people connect with, or you can just do 5 and hope for the best. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as somebody that's played Dark Alliance and Baldur's Gate, I think that the difference is Baldur's Gate, the developers behind that worked very hard to bring the tabletop experience to video games as much as they could. It's little things like if my player gets into a conversation with an NPC, your players can listen in and try and influence my answers. It tries to replicate, a party talking to NPCs. Cool. Even down to the visuals of how things are determined. You get to see the dice rolls. It does stay faithful to the advantage disadvantage mechanic. It's as close as I have seen someone bringing the 5e experience to video games.
That's
now
exciting.
on the other hand, Dark Alliance was this is my opinion, was a mediocre action game that slapped the label of Dungeons and Dragons on it. It's not, so I really hope Wizards doesn't take the lesson that their video games can't succeed. I truly hope that they understand, and I hope what comes of them canceling these 5 games is that you can't just put Dungeons and Dragons on mediocre content and expect for us to gobble it up because you have the brand on there. What we want is you to be faithful to the system that we've grown to love and try and replicate storytelling, because that's what's most important.
It's definitely going to be really important for Wizards of the Coast to start coming up with interesting ideas going forward, not just with video games, but in all aspects of D&D and Magic the Gathering. Speaking of which, we're going to barrel straight into the belly of the beast of this next headline, and who better to drive us into the abyss than Bonsai?
Thank you so much, Javion, for that excellent lead-in. So, what has the tabletop role-playing community been in an uproar this week? Well, the OGL version 1.1 has been leaked, and basically people are not liking what has been seen or what has or has not been confirmed. Speaking of which, this is coming from Linda Codega from Gizmodo. Thank you for that, bringing this to our attention in more ways than one. Keep in mind that this is a leaked contract, not necessarily confirmed. Some parts have been confirmed by different sources, very reliable different sources, but not the whole package that we are going to be discussing. And we're going to be breaking this down because it is a huge, big bite. All right. And we need to break this down into maybe non-chokeable parts. And I'm going to try to break it down of what's going on here. So Linda, Linda Codega, the writer of Gizmodo, claims to have received a leaked copy of the OGL version 1.1 from mid-December and has published some of the details in the upcoming change to the OGL. If you guys don't know what OGL stands for, Original Gaming License, that Wizards of the Coast, particularly Dungeons and Dragons, has since, I believe, for 22 years now, for people to use their content and reskin it for their own. It's an open gaming license. Gizmodo and Linda have declined to publish the document in full, but they've outlined some of the major changes. Right off the bat, I can tell you it's a different beast altogether. The original OGL was 900 words long. It's a 900-word document. This one is 9,000 words of a document. So that's why I said we need to break this down in chunks. The biggest change that was released in the OGL is that they are trying to make the OGL 1.1 is trying to make OGL 1.0A no longer a authorized license agreement. Supposedly, the updated version was meant to be released on January 4th with the requirements that the existing third-party publishers agree by January 13th. That's like 2 weeks. 10 days, 11 days to agree to this contract. This would have required companies like Paizo, Green Ronin, Cobalt Press, etc. only 7 business days to respond to this contract. Before we break into this chunk, there has been some debate whether or not that this is even possible for WotC to revoke the original OGL, since the original OGL provides, this is the lawyer word, perpetual worldwide royalty-free non-exclusive license. But the word in context that we have to think of here is perpetual, not what was the word? There's another term. It is not irrevocable, which people I think are confusing. Perpetual has a stopping point if the company decides to end that contract and start a new one. Irrevocable in lawyers' terms, I'm going to just say lawyers' terms, is something that you cannot take away. You cannot. It's irrevocable. That's the big legal jargon that people are going to really fight about. Notably, Ryan Dancy, the former VP at WotC, during the 3rd edition design and release of the article of, basically has stated that he does not believe that the original OGL gives WotC the ability to revoke, and it was designed to be irrevocable. Like that was the intent of what they were doing at the time. Even WotC's OGL questions, FAQs from 2004 seem to agree that WotC would never revoke the original OGL. One of the smaller third-party publishers have already, just for another example, drop these news down. Another smaller third-party publisher has already contacted their attorney, contacted WotC requesting clarification on the leak and threatened to sue in anticipatory breach if no clarification is provided. So how about we try to consume this part? What do you all think of this part?
Thank you, Bonsai. That was a lot to cover, but you made it a lot easier.
That's only one of the parts, by the way. There's a lot more. There's a lot more to cover. Yep. So yeah, I wanted to get your opinions on that legal jargon and what people are like, that bigger, the revoke of the original.
Just to put in the layman's terms, it's just the OGL, the OGL 1.0 existed to be the standard. That's essentially what all this is about. It's OGL was supposed to be Wizards' standards for how they wanted to do things, so that indie designers and everybody could take part and create, which I believe is one of the reasons that Dungeons and Dragons grew the way that it did. And now it's kind of like psych. Like, that thing that you thought was going to stand forever. Well, we've changed our minds. There's a lot to this OGL. There's tons of people that are doing the work of breaking it down from a legal perspective. Shout out to Legal Kimchi, who's done a very good job of that. Owen Casey Stevens has also done a breakdown, as well as DM Dave. Yeah, there's a lot not to like in my personal opinion. Yeah, I mean, please, if y'all have it.
It's certainly hard to defend. It's taking things in a direction that a lot of people were afraid of for a very long time. We're seeing the direction that things are heading in, focused on revenue, on profit. And as Marcus, as you said earlier, we can definitely see how much profit is playing into as a role. I think one thing that we have to keep in mind here is that with changing all of this stuff, like erasing everything that was before and bringing things new into the into the future, I think a lot of times we end up thinking about any change as bad change. We will, looking at the chunks, looking at everything that was leaked here. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that we definitely don't like. But
Yeah.
I think that at the very least, something that we can get out of this is knowing that they are open to changing things that have been a standard in the past. Not everything is going to be great for certain, but hopefully this is just a leak and we can just take it with a grain of salt. And I mean, if we've seen anything in the past before, I know I already said this last week, WotC knows when the public is not happy.
I desperately want to agree with that, but I'm if I may, there are a few other highlights to the OGL that if I could just run through them real quick, if that's okay with everybody. All creators earning over $50,000 per year have to report earnings.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous. Creators making over $750,000 have to pay a very high percentage of revenues, not profit, mind you, after $750,000. To put this in perspective, some folks are making their money from the Kickstarters to create content, and Wizards will get a portion of that. Wizards automatically has a claim to whatever content you create as a sublease. This means that they can take content, repackage it, share it, do whatever they want, and they don't have to pay the original creators because they've been absolved of all liabilities attached to it by virtue of agreeing to this OGL. Any content that isn't a PDF or book is not allowed. This is going to have an effect on VTTs like Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Alchemy, Roll20. Any past version of the OGL is now null and void. And this is for every edition. This is not just affecting 1D&D. This also affects 5th edition, 3.0, 3.5s, and its derivatives, including Pathfinder. So it's a lot. And again, shout out to DM Dave, who did a very thorough breakdown that I was just commenting on. This I'd like to think that Wizards at some point does take into consideration the community and the fan base around them, but looking at potentially how much money they stand to gain if they stick with this, I don't see them being moved. I think they went into this knowing that there's going to be some severe backlash, because how could you not?
So to add on to your collaboration, so people can know, this is like another, I was going to go through this part a little bit later, but just to help out. Oh, no, it's good. I just want to go ahead and confirm that this portion of the leak that Noir is saying has been confirmed by John Ritter, the head of games on Kickstarter on Twitter. basically was specifying that the leak is also specifies that Kickstarter will be preferred for crowdfunding platforms for WotC. Campaigns running through Kickstarter that raise over $750,000 would only be subject to 20% of royalties versus the 25% in other platforms. So that is just that portion that we have discussed has been confirmed by another source. So that's just leaning on like, hey, this is why. But yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Bonsai. One of the points we talked about last week when we covered this was that, the dangers of a slippery slope and also being worried about a slippery slope. This is a slippery slope that we're starting to worry about it when we're already head over heels falling down this hill. This is kind of bonkers to me that you could do any of this. This reminds me of the scenario of tanks versus people. This OGL seems like a tank to me, and I'm not going to side with this tank.
And I think this point being brought up by Owen Casey Stevens that I think is very important is that we need to understand that there's a huge difference between the OGL and an SRD. An SRD is a system resource document, which is essentially, here's the bare bones of our game, here's how you can create within it. The OGL is not tied to any one game system or product release, meaning that there are whole complete role-playing games that depend on the OGL remaining the way that it was. So I mean, we're talking about Pathfinder, Starfinder, Mutants and Masterminds, 13th Age, like all these games exist because of the OGL, and with the OGL being changed, their status is in question, or they're going to have to start sharing with Wizards. And I think this is not a good trend for this hobby if this is what we're going to be doing.
Bonza, do you have something to say?
Oh no, I was just gonna go ahead and give the last chunk to kind of fill in this.
Absolutely.
that kind of connects to this. So this is the last chunk of this like really big, massive bite we're trying to take out of this news story. Is that one of the other bigger North American changes, just speaking with what Noir was saying, is that the new OGL 1.1 only allows for creation of role-playing games and supplements in printed media and static electronic file formats. Other content cannot be released under the fan content policy. This license does not provide perpetual or worldwide rights to any creators, and explicitly states that it can be revoked in 30 days notice. This new license provides WotC with perpetual royalty-free license to any works published under the license. That is to say that if Pathfinder were to publish under the OGL version 1.1, WotC could publish Pathfinder as its own product. One positive change, I guess, to kind of sprinkle a little salt, I guess, onto this, or flavor. In the updated OGL, WotC specifically notes that it will revoke the license of blatantly racist, homophobic, and otherwise hateful content. That I think is I get it. That's what they want to present, but the fact that they're laying in bricks to basically reject the creators but take their work, But that's just my opinion.
Okay,
on how I interpret this.
Well,
yeah.
Here's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
This is strictly my opinion. I need to make sure that that's perfectly clear. I don't trust Wizards to curate other game systems on what is or is not racist when every 3 months we're reporting on another issue from them. So as much as I would love to look at that as a highlight of what's happening here, this is the same company that looked at Space Monkeys. It was just like
that'll do.
Like I just
Yeah, I gotta say, unfortunately, I agree with you on this, Noir. I've kind of that, and I also I want to bring up something that you said earlier in our discussion when we were talking about this off camera. You mentioned a similar scenario that I think is relevant here. The Fine brothers on YouTube about 5 or 6 years ago tried to copyright the term reaction videos because they were doing reaction videos. If you're not aware what a reaction video is, it'd be like you're watching Table Takes and then there'd be another box and you'd be reacting to an episode of Table Takes. You'd be talking about, which is a weird reaction video to do, by the way. But like it is that they tried to copyright that, so anyone using the term reaction would have to have some. They would try to own that to them. That obviously did not go well. It was a lot smaller. They had a lot less power, reach, and money than WotC does. So it is. This is. There's not a good way to color this. There's not a small little bit of niceness at the end of a long thing that can make this better. This is a mess, and Wizards has willfully got themselves in here, and I think the community is responding how they feel and with more than beyond, like more than valid concerns. This is a game that was I understand, coming from the side, I understand WotC wants to own what they own. I get that. But this is a drastic overreach, and they can do this legally because remember, they can, because meaning they can do it legally doesn't make it good or right or moral or anything. It just means that they can do it legally, which is again just awful.
I think if we zoom out to the bigger picture, we know what their focus was originally when they created and announced what one D&D was supposed to be. Everything under one umbrella, everything easy to find, but also taking all that responsibility on themselves. And time is really running out for them to actually show up for the things that they said that they were going to take responsibility for. So right now, all we have is our speculation. All we have is the information that we had leaked. We know that it's not official yet. It's not put in place. It hasn't been enforced. We just have our fears to sit with. So I think instead of speculating on what could go wrong, I think having an open mind and knowing what we have seen in the past, knowing what we've played with and what we've loved and what we've seen already is something possible for the future. We can hope. We can hope for something better. And unfortunately, we do have to move on to the next headline because we haven't talked about this for a while. But hopefully this is something that can maybe bring your spirits up just a little bit more. Now, if you know me, if you know anything about me, you know how much I love goblins. And, of course, new board games. This is actually a card game called Goblin Vaults that was announced for the Role Player Tale series. Role Player, if you didn't know already, is based on D&D and fantasy role-playing games where you need to sort of create a D&D character. And it uses a lot of the tropes and a lot of the systems that we've seen before. There are a lot of games in the line, and Goblin Vaults is the newest addition. It's a fantasy card game by Thunderworks Games, and it's set to release on February 23rd this year. So only about a month and a half to go. In this game, you're playing with cards as if you were a goblin sitting at a table with other goblins and trying to steal gold from the main vault and add it to your own tableau. So it's got elements of gambling, it's got elements of bidding and auctioning, but it's also got elements of card placement. Depending on where you place these cards, you might get more and more points. Each goblin comes with their own faction, which is a specific type of card that you're looking for in order to earn extra points. But you've also got an objective of trying to collect as many of the best cards as you can by the end of the game. It plays in about 45 minutes and is only going to retail for about $25. And it's got the theme of being goblins at a table, which brings me back to the new segment that I've introduced for Table Takes going forward. It's Javion's Soapbox, and boy, do I have some goblin thoughts for you today. So let me just get up here on my soapbox. So goblins, we all know what goblins are supposed to be. And we've seen plenty of goblin content out there. But are goblins still a stereotype? I say yes. I say that goblins loving gold with their sniveling, conniving, mischievous thievery is a stereotype that needs to go. We need cuddly goblins. We need intelligent goblins. We need beefy goblins. So I'm looking at you, all you board game designers out there. Give us better and more diverse goblins. For now, I'm happy to get down off my soapbox and promote this very excellent looking game where you're collecting gears for some reason in order to earn victory points and bidding and card placement. Who doesn't love a fun romp around the table, right? It's a cool looking little fun little card game, and it's got goblins. So you
JD,
got my
what if we
I
do
love
a
goblins.
goblin dating sim where we just design a variety of different goblins? What do you feel
Yeah.
about that? A goblin
Well,
dating sim?
I love
Ooh.
dating sims and I love goblins, so a match made in heaven. Why not? And
I'll be working on
as long
this.
as I'm getting a lot of different types of goblins in that tableau, because I mean, you've got your Zelda-ish goblins, and they managed to turn them into like all these different kinds of types. Well, they're all still kind of like primal, feral barbarians from like cavemans or something like
But
that.
we're cool. We're cool.
But yeah, but then there's also, you've got like the goblins who are, out there doing their own thing, being independent. And I'm sure we've all fantasized our own goblin creature types. Why not a board game about
Fantasized.
making your own goblin? How about that?
Yeah,
I like
goblin-
goblin takes.
Goblin takes all the goblin. Oh yeah, but Javion, if you ever read this book series called Wandering In, that is actively a thing that in that book they're trying to change what goblins are,
Excellent.
and they explore
Please.
the reason of why people are so close-minded about goblins. And that
Please
they should
send that
not-
to me. I want to see this so
It's,
badly.
it's a good series. I have it. They come out with a lot of books. Anywho, yeah.
I just think one thing. I'll hop on my goblin soapbox for just a hot second here. I think goblins, very much like orcs, are one of those creature types that you have to be very very careful with, because there are real world negative connotations that
Anti-Semitic.
that you have to be very mindful of, especially when you're placed in the middle world or designing a game about them, where you can, or it can be perceived very negatively.
Yep.
Just taking a look at the Harry Potter series as a terrible example. So that's all I want to say while I'm on my soapbox, which is to please be mindful of what you're doing when you're using things that have real world connotations. That's
Yeah.
Can I add another
Absolutely.
thing in general? Just in general, please be mindful. Like,
Please be mindful.
it doesn't have to be about little things. Like just be mindful. Just think about things beyond yourself a little bit, and things might get a little bit easier.
Speaking of things getting a little bit easier,
Mhm.
how about something that's really, really difficult? Bonsai, would you like to lead us into our next headline?
All right. As we are moving more and more into the future and what it is to be, either robots, AI, and all kinds of things in the scope of what is humanity, what is allowed, and what is legal, even Cthulhu. So thank you for Alex Meehan of Dicebreakers. Call of Cthulhu Studios refuses to use AI art in its future releases. So Chaosium, the publishers behind Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game, has confirmed that it refuses to use AI art in its future releases. Concerns surrounding the ethics of AI art and how it impacts the livelihood of artists. Speaking of which, if you guys don't know, there has been at least the last, I want to say, a rampant within the last 3 months of AI generated art and how that is affecting the artist community, what people are saying about it, because there's been some competitions where somebody submitted an AI generated art and won first place, getting like thousands of dollars worth of prizes. And how, was it the AI assistants while they used it to compile a shot and then painted it? And what does that actually legally make them available to do that as an art form? Also, with a lot of artists basically citing and claiming a lot of these AIs directly taking works that they've done and just tweaking it a little bit to make it different. So that's the real big picture there. It's a monster ball of is it cool? Is it not? There's lots of gray areas and lots of people for it, not for it in terms of AI generation. So more to continuing that. There's a significant chance that U.S. courts may declare that AI art violates copyright artist rights. And another one is Chaosium further commented that the possibility that the EU passed a legislation of basically prohibiting the existence of webscaping programs that enable creations of AI artwork. So it's more of like, as we go into the future, what is considered creativity, what is considered a visual aid, what is considered like, it's kind of like a gray area for a lot of people who do make comic books, whether or not they use like pre-made and computer assisted background images, and whether or not that is considered them still doing and making the content and using like body models that computer revised as something that is still deemed an art, or is it a reference? It's a big confusion. It's like the whole like, is like back in the day when it was physical art versus digital art kind of thing is going on. I want to hear what your takes on it are, folks.
Yeah, this conversation has been one of the many conversations we need to have, where it comes down to the technology got here before we figured out what to do, or what the rules are, or what makes sense. Obviously, it's not good to steal people's art and that's already a thing that's happening in art anyway. Like you work your ass off on something, and then someone reposts it and sells it for $50 for 100 shirts without consulting you on it. That's something that's already happening. Now combine that with AI, where people can just get pretty much whatever they want within reason. It's a very tricky conversation. But I think Chaosium's making the stance to no longer use any AI generated art in their games is a big stance. And I think it shows that they are committed to artists. Especially from a game that does require a significant amount of art to make it look really good and pretty. Some of it could easily be generated with AI, but like, man, I think it's a good choice. I think it would benefit for people to start coming out and making hard stances on some of these things. I understand that we don't have all of the answers, but we can tell that some of the AI, how it's going, is unsavory. So that's my opinion. I'm not very pro this. But I support Chaosium saying no AI in Cthulhu.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. It's no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Cthulhu or anything related to Lovecraft, but even I can appreciate them taking this stance, especially with the amount that they might be sacrificing without knowing it. Like I'm sure you've seen AI art that's out there and the possibilities of what can be created. Now, it's not all perfect, but some of it's really impressive. But the thing is, when you think about what, like, in the realm of horror could be created if they implemented these kinds of things, and the fact that they're choosing not to use any of that at all, shows not only their willingness to participate with good faith and support the people that they feel deserve when they're using their assets in order to promote their own game, but it also shows how committed they are to the community when it comes to these sorts of things. So I think it's a really resilient, a really brave move, especially going into this new era of like AI sort of invading all aspects of our culture. So with that, I think we could just really quickly just move on to our final segment. We have the bundle of holding, and our bundle boss today is Marcus.
It is me, and I'm going to take you through this lovely bundle that we have from Bundle of Holding. Do you want to play some games? Do you not want to spend a lot of money and get a lot of stuff and have it go to a good cause? Well, this 2300 AD bundle is for you. Yes, they have resurrected the September 29th bundle featuring the PDF book of the original 1986 to 1988 Game Designer Workshop tabletop science fiction game, 2300 AD. So for the starting collection, for just $16.95, this is a $90 value. You'll be getting the first edition as well as several add-ons, including 4 of the first edition adventure books. And that is, again, just $16.99. If you pay above the threshold of $29.32, you'll be able to also get the entire bonus collection with 8 more titles that are worth $90 again, including 2380 second edition core rules, 2380 equipment guide, as well as ground vehicle guide, colonial atlas of the planets and human space, as well as several other source books. 10% of this, after gateway fees, will be donated to Direct Relief. So if you're interested in this and you want to play this, check it out. It's a good deal, and it goes towards a good cause.
Awesome. This is definitely not one that I've ever seen before. So I love seeing the bundles that introduce us to new things. And is there going to be did you already mention the charity that it's donating to?
A Direct Relief, yeah.
Direct Relief. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to check out a brand new RPG system that maybe you've not tried before, definitely check out the bundle on bundleofholding.com.
It's got a very old, kind of nice art style to it. So if you want to take a look, the link's in chat.
Awesome. Well, I think we do have time for one Kickstarter if you guys are interested in hearing one.
Oh, let's do it.
I'm down. Let's hear it.
All right. Well,
tell us.
The crowdfunding court has only one defendant, and I will defend it my last breath. Today, I brought for you Spell Wars, a fast-paced strategy card game. It is a strategy card game that is inspired by all the 8 schools of magic from D&D. How many can you name? These simple rules and diverse outcomes and entertaining gameplay of this new Kickstarter is sure to give you plenty of fun around the table, especially if you don't have anything to do on a Friday night and your game night got canceled because 2 people are in Spain randomly for some reason. So this game is played with 2 to 4 players, and it's all about the 8 schools of magic. You're trying to defeat all of your opponents by dealing enough damage to them. There's 64 cards. 8 cards for each of the 8 schools, and each card has 2 different effects that allow for an almost unlimited combination of strategic decisions and outcomes, leading into plenty of replayability. Not to mention, this stretch goal was actually originally supposed to be only $3,000, and it's already skyrocketed up to $22,000 with 434 backers. And plenty of time to go. 26 days if you still want to take a look at it. Elderbrain.com, the publisher of indie RPG products, is based in Budapest, Hungary. And they have brought this game to life. There's plenty of content. There's plenty of cool stuff and stretch goals as well. But the cards, for me, are the biggest selling point for this game. If you take a look at them, they each have the feel of the 8 schools of magic to them. And is rich with that content. So if you are a fan of wizards and spellcasters in D&D games or anywhere else that you've played, Forgotten Realms, things like that, you're going to love this game. It's got abjuration, conjuration, divination, all of the good stuff. And you can pledge for $25 if you want to get just the card deck itself or upgrade up to the party set, which comes with 4 pieces of the hit point counter dice. You also get the dice bag for Spell Wars, as well as a magic sticker sheet and an enamel pin to help you in your D&D games if you're looking for some more accessories. So you got 26 days left to go to back this project. And Spell Wars, the card game, is our Kickstarter for this week. So,
Javion,
there you go.
You thought you were safe, but there is a judge here for you to judge whether you lose your head on this Kickstarter.
No!
For your inclusion of the spell Kickstarter, your head shall remain on your shoulders. Excellent work.
Well, this is a very pleasant surprise. I actually was not expecting that.
Great work.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Thank you very much to all of our hosts today, and thank you to our audience for joining us for this week's episode of TableTakes. But don't go anywhere, because we've got yet another edition of TableTakes Game Night coming right after this at 3:30 p.m. PST, where we are once again playing a very special edition of Geek Out, where we're going to challenge each other to the
reigning champion.
Yeah, the reigning champion will have to defend his title on nerd and geek knowledge.
Take your belt, Noir.
Oh, if only.
Oh, fancy.
Let's see how we do. It's coming up right after this. But after that, don't worry, we've got plenty more content for your Friday afternoon. At 5 p.m., we've got Sarah's Table, where they're going to be playing more of The Crown. with
we got Noir and Bonsai.
the fabulous Noir and Bonsai joining us. Excellent.
I'm sure nothing but good things happen.
We're the good guys.
If you were curious about how the crown works, created by Sarah Moore and the crew, some of the members of
Formerly Feral Games, David
thank you,
Van Hee.
formerly Feral Games. Thank you so much. Then definitely check it out. Coming at 5 p.m. PST today. So on Sunday we're going to be having more of the Dwarven Forge. We are going to be having Roll with Rem Alternus. Oh, sorry, no, not that. What's happening on Sunday? So nothing's happening on Sunday. We're not actually doing that this Sunday. Never mind. But our normal schedule on Mondays we have Board Games with the Brothers Murph at 4 p.m. and Dress to Quest at 6 p.m. On Wednesdays we have Actoroki, and Series 4 is going to be starting this week. It's very, very exciting. Can't wait to see what happens. And on Thursdays we've got Blood on the Clock Tower at 10 a.m. where you can actually play with us for a social deduction game for 5 to 20 players, as well as at 4 p.m. on Thursdays we've got Roll with Rem Alternus. All right, folks, that's all the time we got for today. Stick around for some game night and some geek out. And remember, if you missed any of our programming today, you can check out the VODs here or on Twitch or on YouTube on YouTube 24 hours after. And you can just follow us here so you never miss an episode. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
Bye.
Bye-bye.